Hey, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome, welcome, welcome,
Oh, you have
welcome
to open
back.
with that. Come on. Oh,
Yes. Well, how do you think I feel about it? We'll touch on that in a little bit, but welcome back. Nice, again, with just a mega sports weekend. Hope everyone enjoyed as much of that as they could. A lot of football, baseball playoffs really get going now that we got the divisional series, and of course the NBA finals. So we will touch on all of that, but hit us up in the comments. As you know, hit up the link. I'm having a little bit of a lag here on my computer, so hopefully it looks okay on your guys' side. But
it looks all right.
Tyler, how was your weekend?
It was good. Got to sit back, watch a lot of sports. It was weird going from so much baseball to no baseball at all on the weekend.
Yeah.
That was a little bit weird, but that's all right. We had football there to make up for it. We had NASCAR. We had, still had plenty of action going on. Plus, it's always nice to enjoy the weekend. Ronnie, I'm glad to see that you survived the Civil War within your house. I was worried you might be just a innocent bystander and maybe get glassed across the head.
Oh,
But glad to see
you glassed me.
Glassed me. Glad to see you survive that.
Who did that? It was pretty civil as far as conflict-wise, but it was a little rowdy. The game itself, we had the 49ers-Eagles Sunday Night Football game. Mm-hmm. So in my house, it's a house divided as far as my wife and my roommate Amanda, and not a good game of football by any means, but close and weird at the end. So, I mean, we'll touch on that when we get into the football here in just a second, but close enough that no one was really out of it the whole time. So, an interesting game? I don't know, but it was fine. No punches were thrown. I didn't get glassed. And the Laker game was on, which we'll talk about too. So I was able to watch that at the same time. But all in all, it was safe. No domestic disturbances. And
it's a good movie.
I'm grateful for that. Thank you also, Jaime, shouting out our unlicensed, royalty-free theme song that I picked out seemingly so long ago. Glad you enjoyed it. Got a little funky groove to it.
Yeah, I dig it.
But let's start with the football. I know I didn't see a whole lot of college football this week, but I did see that Texas is back. And by back, I mean they lost to TCU and Oklahoma also. We saw what happened there. But Tyler, I think you saw a little bit more of it than me as far as the college side. I was at work in the morning, and then actually I went golf, which I'll just mention to you guys a little bit later on. Not anything major, but what games did you get to watch? Or, I mean, just sort of what were you looking at this weekend? I know you had the rankings. I'm going to pull those up too and get those on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. Texas, look, whether they win or lose, you always say Texas is back. It applies to both situations.
It really is.
They're in a perpetual state of backness.
I wanted to troll Braden, which I still always do with the Texas is back meter.
Of course.
And my first thought was like, man, I guess Texas isn't back. And Tyler pointed out to me, wait, it works either way. It's a universal truth.
They're always
Texas
back.
Will always either choke or just randomly every 20 years actually have a good team, and then they will be back. But this time they're back in the world of suck. Embrace the suck, as a great man once said. But Texas, yikes.
And it's funny you pointed out that Oklahoma lost as well, because this weekend is, of course, the Red River Shootout between Texas and Oklahoma, which
both Texas teams coming in peak shape right now.
Exactly. Yeah, Oklahoma going out and losing to Iowa State. Oklahoma drops out of the rankings now. I actually saw, they have the top 25, and then they have the also received votes. Coastal Carolina received more votes than Oklahoma this week.
Yikes.
So tough luck for Spencer Rattler out there in Norman. But
I still love the name Spencer Rattler, though.
It's a great name. Just But I actually can't even blame him. I mean, it's mostly just their defense is awful. It's kind of a Dak Prescott situation of like he's got to score 60 points, otherwise they're just going to lose. But they both lost. Oklahoma State rolls on. They're undefeated as well. They're looking fairly decent in the Big 12. Just a couple other things I saw, which was tough look for our guy Mike Leach, man. They just did not show up against Arkansas. I mean, it's either Arkansas is a lot better than I'm giving them credit for, or maybe LSU is a lot worse than they're getting credit for. I don't know. It's hard to tell right now. But Mike Leach, after just torching the defending champs defense a week ago, goes out and just can't do anything against Arkansas. Arkansas won the game. I think it was 21-14 was the final.
I mean, realistically, and I don't think anyone was expecting Arkansas, but kind of thinking this was going to be the way, probably for the first couple of years, even if Mike Leach really gets it going in the right direction. I mean, it's still Mississippi State. It's not like they've got this massive amounts of recruiting coming in compared to the other schools down there too. That's just like a factory just churning them out. And
it's not Mike Leach's recruiting class either.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to find a bum, like a hobo that can throw for 1,000 yards a game. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
so all you hobos out there watching, stay near your phone.
If you have any eligibility, contact the athletic department at Mississippi State. They want to talk to you.
But the other game that I caught quite a bit of was the late game between Georgia and Auburn. Battle of, I think at the time Auburn was 7th. They're definitely not 7th now. They got stomped pretty hard. Georgia 13,
as you see. I can only fit the top 14. Well, actually 15.
Okay.
Shout out to the Cougs if we take the banner off the screen.
But the Georgia goes out there, handles their business. They're still looking good. Of course, Clemson. I can't remember who they played this weekend. They smashed on Alabama, smashed on A&M, which, I mean, we kind of said it last week. A&M either upsets them or gets killed. A&M's not going to win a close game against Bama. So, I mean, again, the top is kind of what you expect. Looking at the rankings there, you got the U in its 7th, which actually they're playing Clemson this week, which I talked to my boy Jason Ward. He's my U insider. He thinks it'll be a good game. He doesn't think Miami has quite enough to beat Clemson yet, but he's expecting it'll be a decent game. And look at that, North Carolina, number 8.
North Kakalaka. North Carolina,
with old Mac Brown running the team out there, looking good at 3-0. So bit of a surprise there. We're still a couple weeks away. I think it's the 24th is when the Big Ten starts. Pac-10 will start sometime early November. So you'll see a lot of mix-up then. But right now I'm digging North Carolina in the top 10.
Yeah, I'd like to see some other ACC teams that. Well, I mean, it's too early to tell who's actually good, but can't just all be Clemson. I mean, they're kind of they're in the ACC, but it's like it doesn't even matter. They're separate from the whole thing because they're so much better than everybody. But we'll have some top 25 matchups for them coming up, so that's cool. I guess they'll probably just beat them all. But and as you know, I think both of us have a place in our heart for that U. But probably not ready to run with the big dogs just yet. But we'll see. I did feel bad for friend of the program, Rob, also huge Auburn super fan, War Eagle, because he took the just like a 10-point spread, and I don't know how much he lost on that. It seemed like I was like, all right, well, it's the SEC. It's not like they really do a lot. The game it's like, oh, we're in the fourth quarter, 6 minutes left, and it's 13-9.
The old SEC classic.
Yeah, but this was not that, so I feel bad. I do feel a little bit bad for homie Rob, but bounce back, live to fight another day.
Definitely.
13, you're not,
Yeah, you're still sitting okay. I mean, granted, you still got to go through Bama, but you'll be all right.
It's the Iron Bowl. Anything could happen. Punt, Bama, punt.
But all in all, I mean, again, kind of enjoy the Saturday. Enjoy any Saturday I get to watch college football, really, and definitely looking forward to even more conferences jumping in. Like I said, Big Ten in a couple weeks, Pac-12, and the Mountain West, and the MAC, of course. Which about a week or so ago, the MAC president did say that the first 3 weeks we will have weekday MACtion, which I'm all for. Give me that all day.
Action.
Give me that
all. My veins.
Give me a Toledo Ball State game on a Tuesday night with like 18 people in the crowd. Give me that shit.
Green. Are they in the MAC? I don't even know if they're in the MAC.
Bowling Green, yes, they're in the MAC.
Yes. Gotta love the brown and orange.
But yeah, again, another enjoyable week of college football. But to me, every weekend of college football is enjoyable.
Thank you, Christy, for tuning in.
Thank you, Christy.
Witnessing this insane chemistry that's going on here.
I guess,
we would just be doing this via text message anyway. Like if we weren't.
That's honestly the funniest thing about the show to me is like this is exactly what we would be doing. If
it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But thank you for watching, as always.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how the rankings. I mean, I would think as far as the playoff, you're kind of screwed. Maybe if you're Ohio State, I don't know. But I don't know how they're going to set that up. In the AP, though, you got all these like late schools coming in. Like, how soon can they rush Oregon up to number 4 for no reason? I don't know.
I think right now, if you pull the ranking up, aren't Oregon like 11th or 12th or something right now? Yeah, like Ohio's up there at number like 4 or 5. There we go, 6 with an 0-0 record. Penn State is number 9. There we go. So, I mean, yeah, they've already got some of these teams that have yet to play a game up there, just kind of based off of preseason reputation, which I will always say preseason polls are stupid, but it's a thing for college football. So, hey, whatever.
Well, especially this year for 2 of the Power 5. It's still a preseason poll because we don't know. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's a fair assumption to think, and it kills me to say this, that, of course, Ohio will just run over probably everybody, but you never know. Maybe they'll slip up.
Let's hope that they don't. Let's just hope they don't.
But yeah, we also had.
I saw to put
there we go.
Up there.
Perfect.
One more time.
Yeah, speaking of football, of course, we also had a full busy day yesterday, despite one of the games being just outright postponed for weeks, the other one being postponed to earlier today. But, I got to say, man, the morning games were pretty great. Everything after that, not so much. Pretty rough treading in the afternoon and evening games, but I thought the morning slate was awesome.
Yeah, I thought the morning games were good. New Orleans getting what is probably a much-needed win, but the Lions hung in there. Dan Patrick's Miami-Seattle prediction looked sort of possible for a while there towards the very end, but then Seattle just sort of pulled away. Chargers, Tampa Bay. I'm going to go to the Charger fan on this one. They got out to the lead. I wouldn't be devastated by this as a Charger fan, except for the loss of Eckler. We don't know how long he's going to be out. And they find creative ways to lose, as we've talked about, at great length on this show. But Herbert had a pretty good thing going there. They were scoring points, and the problem is just Tampa Bay was just coming back like every time, just like closing the gap. I know they had a little bit of a lead there, opened up, but then Brady ends up throwing, I think, 5 touchdowns, and it was just too much. The couple turnovers there at the end really flipped it over, but and just put it away for good. But I don't know how much of that you saw. I don't know. What were your thoughts on that as the Charger fan?
So I had that game on my TV, and then Red Zone pulled up on my computer, so I was kind of keeping an eye on both. You say you wouldn't be devastated. I'm not devastated. The problem is, don't get me wrong, I'm excited with Herbert. I hand in the air, actually, so you can see a hand in the air. I did not think he was going to be that great. He's been exceeding my expectations. He's blown away my expectations so far. The problem is, it's the same old shit.
Yeah.
You look at it, they did the same thing with Rivers. They're doing the same thing with Herbert. Just good quarterback performance, terrible team performance. They're blowing games when they should be winning them. It's the same old shit with the Chargers. So like I've seen some fans saying, oh, you got to be excited about Herbert. Like, why? I'm not excited about the rest of the team. It's the same shit. Like, I'm glad Herbert's doing well, but it just until there's just a major change, some major change either with the coach or with management or just something, like it's Anthony Lynn seems like a great guy. I think he's way too conservative. I think there's been 4 times this year in late game situations where he's punted on 4th and 1, where it's kind of like, these, the odds nowadays tell you like 4th and 1, man, go for it. Like you're probably going to get it more times than you're not. He said he's always putting it away. They go into a prevent defense, which I've said on here and I've said all my life, I hate the prevent defense. If something is working all game, why would you change it? Because it's the 4th quarter. And even when they gave up the lead to Tampa, they stayed in a prevent defense. I'm like, it's
what is the prevent now? I don't know what. Like, okay, now it's time to get aggressive here.
Look, and again, I think I even said this before when I went on this rant a couple weeks ago. This is not necessarily directed at Anthony Lynn, although it applies to the situation. Like, if you've had a defense that has worked for 3 quarters, why would you change anything just because it's the 4th quarter now? I don't understand that philosophy. But Charger's going to Charger. I mean, what else? At the end of the day, that's all I can say is Charger's going to Charger. Herbert's going to put up his numbers, and the team's not going to win. So there we go.
And to your point, and we'll get to this game, just sort of go in order of how they played out. It's kind of a similar thing as far as the prevent defense goes. In that Sunday night game last night, 49ers-Eagles, Mullins ended up getting benched. He just looked uncomfortable back there. I mean, the Eagles still have a pretty good, front 7.
Yeah, they were terrible.
Despite their shortcomings. And he looked like he was kind of seeing ghosts out there. Yeah. So then Beathard, beat hard. Like, I beat hard. Came in, and the Eagles were just like 3 linemen dropping everyone back, and he goes like 10 for 10 on a drive down the field. Yeah. It's like, oh, this guy's already got like 100 yards. He's cooking them. But like the Eagles were bringing no pressure. And I was kind of like, dude, like, he just came in the game. Like, run something at him. Like, just make him think about it. He's just like, boop, boop, middle of the field, tight end. So I'm right there with you as far as the prevent defense goes. The Washington football team with a huge result, getting that loss to Baltimore, moves them to second place at the terrible NFC East somehow.
Oh God! Oh, defund the NFC East.
Up to them, but the story of the day there definitely has to be the Dallas game, where Dak had like 500 yards passing and I think 4 touchdowns, and really the score there does not even reflect how badly they were getting beat. Their defense is just atrocious. I mean, their defense is non-existent almost.
I tweeted it out yesterday. Dak is going to set some single-season records, and they're going to end up 7-9 because their defense is awful. They're in a terrible division, so they'll still make the playoffs, and then probably get smashed by a good team. It's I can't even. I don't even have the words for it. How bad their defense is. Cleveland didn't even have their number 1 running back. Chubb went out. They were using Kareem Hunt, and he ran for like 150 yards. They had 300 yards, 300 yards rushing on the day?
Which, it was just, in fairness, it's not really like a huge downgrade when you still have Kareem Hunt to just come in and take over.
Sure.
They've been kind of running it like just both of them, and then you have like 2 pretty top-level guys coming at you all game.
Sure,
but still, fair. It's like, all right, well, we just got to go with Hunt. It's like you're not really losing a lot there.
Sure, that's fair.
Losing the tandem, you would think there's something there for the Cowboys. Like, okay, well, they got one guy now. It's kind of like the bell cow, as opposed to just running 2 fresh guys that are really good at us. And OBJ just went off with like a huge. I think he had 3 touchdowns by the end.
Yeah,
I love seeing at the end. I mean, as we all know, anyone that follows this show, and Tyler and I know, Baker Mayfield's a pretty ridiculous person. But they showed him on the sidelines at the end, and even he kind of looked surprised, like, we're about to win this. Like, he just had like a dumb Baker Mayfield look on his face, just like.
Hey, Cleveland's sitting at 3-1, man. They're right there in that division. I mean, they're currently tied with Baltimore at 3-1. They're behind Pittsburgh, who's 3-0 right now. Cleveland not looking too bad. And also shout out in that division, Cincinnati. Joe Burrow getting his first win.
First win for the kid. He looked good. I mean, it's Jacksonville. They're rebuilding everything.
He's had 3 straight games with 300 yards, man. Burrow, look, the rest of the team isn't good, but Burrow's looking solid, man.
Yeah, I would take Burrow right now. I mean, if you it's never an easy gig if you're a, first overall pick quarterback. You're going to a bad team, and then you get in there, and it's just like, oh man, you're gonna get thrown to the wolves. And he's definitely gotten hit a lot, but I mean, he looks up for it. You know, the team is just not that talented, but he stands in there and he makes plays. He makes stuff happen. So,
yeah, but you know, back to where you were before. I mean, yeah, Dallas's defense is just it's incredible because like last year, I didn't think they had that bad of a defense. They had a fairly decent defense, and now 1 year later, like I know they lost. What was it, Leighton Vander Esch? Was it the first game of the year when they lost him?
yeah.
I mean, you know, he's a great ball player, so that's definitely going to hurt. But I mean, their secondary is just
an adventure.
Yeah, it's just it's something else, man. Like you know, every Sunday I keep thinking like my phone's going to ring and I'm going to see, you know, a Dallas area code with Jerry Jones. Like, hey man, what are you doing next weekend? Because I could use somebody.
Why don't you come on down to Dallas? We should talk.
But yeah, Dallas is. I mean, they've look. I do think they're easily the best team in the division. I think they're probably going to win that division, but they may be 7-9 and get a freaking home game in the playoffs, which is crazy. But
yeah,
not
they
good
have
time.
fans at their games too. They have. I
They,
mean,
they do have fans at their games.
Browns just went in there and punched them in the face. A couple tweets on that too. You know, this one more just serious to the numbers. We'll have 38 plus points in 3 straight games for the first time since 1960. How about them Cowboys? And then, you know, a couple more lighthearted ones. I saw this one that made me laugh. This is really wild. I walked outside this morning and someone had broken into my truck. I put 5 Dallas Cowboys tickets in there. I'm so mad. Just left them in the truck. You take it. And then as far as just the NFC East in general, this was another enjoyable one I saw. Let me see if I can grab it here real fast. Where did it go?
No, I saw another one that was it said, you know, example of social distancing, and it had the Cowboy star and then a W far away from it on the other end.
You know what's so crazy too is they could almost be 0-4 if it wasn't for that insane.
If it wasn't for the Falcons being the Falcons, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they Falcons the hell out of that whole thing, but the onside kick, they still could have got it, and the Cowboys could be 0-4 right now with all the numbers Dak is putting up and all that stuff.
0-4 would be a game and a half back in their division.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Shout out to the Giants, Danny Dimes. I see you. But now the Eagles are in first place at 1-2-1. Keeping in mind 1-2-1. I saw this, which also made me laugh. Eagles and Cowboys fighting for playoff contention at 5. So it may come down to this. Just a classic clown fight.
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and jump into that Sunday night game. That was not good football. It was
it was
pretty
not
bad. Pretty bad stuff.
Wentz, I mean, yes, he's looked a little shaky. Definitely had some issues just trying to make stuff happen, hanging onto the ball a little too much. But first of all, they have like no discernible NFL wide receivers. Like, I don't even know who these fools are. And like,
I don't think Wentz does.
3rd to 4th offensive line like depth right now, because they had another guy, I think a guard got hurt in the game last night. He's probably already a backup. So they pulled it out. As the 49ers got a lot of injuries too. You know, they had Mullins in there last night. He just did not look up for it at all. 49ers were kind of getting the most out of what they had. McKinnon had a decent game. They had some misdirection plays, just keeping drives going. Yeah. Or what's his name? Ayuk had one of the coolest touchdowns of the season so far.
Yeah,
He the guy.
Yep.
But they bench him, bring it beat hard, and the Eagles were playing so conservative at that point, though. He just looked like he was just on a hot streak. But it's like, I mean, he's still an NFL quarterback by definition. He can just throw it to guys that are like 12 yards down the middle of the field wide open. So that ultimately didn't last. And yet, Eagles get the win and move to first place. So shout out Amanda.
Yeah, it was an ugly win, but you know what? If you're an Eagles fan, you'll take that win because Lord knows you know 1-4, one out of 4 games you got to win. So, and like we said, sadly, because of that tie, they are technically in first place. So, It's
yeah. Hey, someone has to win. I mean, that's in the rules.
Somebody
Someone has to win the division.
Somebody has to win the division. I see a comment here from Benjamin Chavez here. What do we think of Alex Smith being a comeback? The fact that he can walk is pretty much that's the win. That's the win for him. That's what I think. Like football is, that last clip we saw. Granted, that was a couple months ago. He could barely walk then. He looked like he was kind of getting knocked over by a little kid that ran up to hug him. So
yeah, he was definitely favoring with this giant, almost air cast looking brace still.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about
him. But I don't know. I mean, he seems to want to do it. I don't really know what he has to prove at this point. Yes, he never, won like the Super Bowl or anything like that, but pretty good NFL career. He's been around for a long time, solid. Some playoff games for sure, and just don't do anything to your legs, please. Like at this point, because that would be a real bummer. Real bummer.
Yeah, like I said, the fact that his leg did not have to be amputated or anything serious happened. That's the win for him. So maybe there needs to be a quarterback change in Washington, but
how can you say that? They're in second place.
This is true. Well, yeah, you're right. They are. They're in second place. They're half game out of first. You're right.
They got that thing rolling right now.
Hey, look, Antonio Gibson's looking solid. Nobody else is. Gibson's looking fine, but it's yeah, you're still in it, Washington. But just want to give a comment about tonight's games. We had first one already finished up, which was Kansas City getting the win at home against New England. New England playing without Cam Newton, and boy, they could have used him because Hoyer looked awful. A lot of bad decisions, bad throws, bad clock management. Just looked like a guy that there's a reason he's a backup.
If they I didn't see much of the game just because I was at work and then coming home from work, but I did see it was in the fourth quarter it was 10-13. So I don't know if the Chiefs were looking a little off or whatever, or if the Patriots defense just kind of held them down. Pat's defense
was looking good. That shouldn't be that much of a surprise. They were a good defense last year. Brought back some of the key players. I know some guys opted out as well, but. Right. No, I thought their defense looked good. I think, if Cam's in there, they probably win the game, which is kind of shocking. But, no, their defense looked good. Just, boy, Hoyer is just he's not good. He did not look good. But, they're I got to say, so far without Tom Brady, the fact that they're 2-2, two close, tough losses to possibly Super Bowl contending teams. I mean, you can't really be too mad about that. They've been fairly impressive this year.
And they beat the crap out of the Raiders, which all I want to say about the Raiders this weekend was I thought they were going to lose. The Bills are good. Josh Allen looks like he's really coming into his own.
He's legit.
I made the foolish mistake of believing there was still a chance at halftime when it was kind of close. But the Raiders, I won't say they're terrible. No. They're going in the right direction, which I would hope because Gruden's going to be the coach for seemingly forever with that contract.
Yes.
They definitely need some more talent on defense, especially. I think Carr is very frustrating to watch, but it's kind of a good match as far as what Gruden likes to do, which is not throw the ball deep down the field anyway.
Right.
They kept showing the stat on the screen. Carr's got like 300 passes consecutive without an interception, just the longest active streak. He does lead the league in fumbles, which he had 2. And Waller had a really costly fumble late in that game, too. I'm not too bummed out about it. I didn't have super high hopes, especially everyone's looking up at the Chiefs. The Chargers, you never know what they're going to give you, but they're usually pretty good on defense.
You know what they're going to give you? Heartbreak. That's what they're going to give you.
And people were kind of hyping up the Broncos before, all their team got hurt, too. So I'm okay. I'm okay. Where the Raiders are at right now, it's fine. And as I was explaining to Jeff and Eric in my usually sad Raiders group chat over the weekend, at least the novelty of seeing the new stadium on TV has not worn off entirely. It still looks good on TV. I love the black seats.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In lighter news, this would normally be more, sad, but I think, honestly, I would have to say everyone in the NFL, even if you hate the Texans, Bill O'Brien is no more.
Oh man.
Bill O'Brien was fired today. Finally, I don't know how it took this long, but it never really looked that great. And then they just gave him all the power, as you see here in my guy rap sheet. They made him the GM. They let him do the trade to trade away DeAndre Hopkins and call the plays. And so basically, single entity running the whole team straight into the ground.
Cool.
So,
Boy.
plus you have Watson there long term now.
Yeah.
Still in his prime physically. Probably best to just move on. I know this usually, especially this early in the season, indicates a lost season for an NFL team. But
Correct.
some had to change culture-wise there because it was just not ever good.
Well, okay, and I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to say, normally when you have a lost season, there's something to look forward to because, like, okay, well, we're going to suck, but at least we're going to get a top draft pick. As you can see here from Field Yates, indicates, oh, yeah, they traded away their first and second round picks. So the more they tank, the more it helps the Dolphins. So, Miami's out there. They're celebrating tonight.
Licking their chops.
Yeah. I mean, just look at that. $255 million, losing your first picks, 0-4. It's just been an absolute dumpster fire. And, he's a guy that just somehow, like you said, just acquired more and more power on the team. Like I said before we started the show, I think like if it would have been another 2 weeks, you would have found out he would have been the owner or the president of the team. Like he would have just fallen upwards.
Turns out he's now governor of Texas.
Yeah.
After being fired by the Texans.
Although I do think it would have been funny if maybe Houston fired him as the head coach but kept him as GM. That would have been great. Just we're not going to let you call the plays, but make all the trades you want.
And that really goes back to the last tweet here. They just kept giving him like I don't know what kind of conversations went on there. He's like, well, I really need to be more in control of this, or this would help us out if I had like some kind of unquestioned power. But herein lies the problem. His fingerprints are all over this for the next several years, even though he's now fired. Yep. And you got to dig yourself out of that hole, which I know the NFL is the league of parity. And, a couple hits on draft picks can bring you back. But not if you lose in your first and second round picks in next year. I mean, again, and all the money that's out there, which is probably some of that's going to turn into dead money, but you still counts against the cap. So, man, he really screwed them over, and now he's not even a part of it.
Yeah, I don't know how he got that much power. Like, there's one head coach that has power like that in the NFL. That's Bill Belichick, and he's earned that. Like,
I mean, that's can't really question that.
Yeah, when you've got a handful of Super Bowl rings, like, you can get that GM/head coach power, but I mean, he's definitely screwed Houston over for a while. You mentioned, they traded away a top 3 receiver in the NFL, and what they get back for it? A guy that was the number 1 running back 4 years ago. Like, it's everybody's questioned pretty much every move he's done with good reason, and now finally Houston decided to all right, let's just cut bait now before he trades off anybody else this year. Brighter days for Houston. It's the night is darkest before the dawn. It will get better.
Plus,
it can only get better.
Just being candid here, kind of seemed like sort of a dick. I mean, the players didn't really seem to ever love him, and then the Hopkins thing kind of got ugly there. It just sort of hinted at other things going on, like who is this guy? He controls everything for some reason, even though we're still we lost in the divisional series, but what you should do is make me GM. That'll fix it. I should call all the plays. That's the problem. Okay, now you're in way too deep with one guy. Like, the NFL is maybe the most complicated sport on earth with the amount of staff, equipment, coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see guys on tablets getting the last sequence. Like, they got cameras everywhere. Like, there's so much that goes into the preparation of this. And you just let one guy run it who's like, who is this guy? Like, yeah, I mean, he's an NFL coach, or he was, but you have to compartmentalize. Like, at that level, you need good people to just do their job and, trust them. Because you can't sit there and do everything. There's 100%. No way. There's so many other guys on the other side that only have one job to, specialize in taking out one thing that you're trying to do. So if it's just one guy, I can spin all these plates, it rarely works out.
like I've coached high school football, and you have to delegate at that level. Like, and we're talking NFL is just leagues away from what I did. And in high school, you have to have an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, a line coach, a backs coach. Like, you got to do that at that level, let alone an NFL level where just everything is multiplied by a million. So
like the guys you see on the sideline, up in the booth, like, I feel like preparation just for one NFL game is like a space shuttle launch. Like, the amount of people involved is like, we got to do this logistically. We got to make sure our guys are here. Then we have the walkthrough. Then we have film study. Like, it's so broken down. Like, one guy, especially with the scruples of Bill O'Brien, cannot be running that by himself. So Houston's gonna be paying the price for that for a while, but it's probably for the best that they just did it now.
Yep, cut bait.
It's not going to be good for this season, but you got to start digging out of that hole because it was just going into the mountain. Like, it was going way, way downhill.
Yeah,
and then you lose to the other, like,
to the 0-3 Vikings. Yes.
Yeah, that the other, like, oh, we had expectations for this team and they're winless, and you lose to them. It's like, not a good look.
No, tough look. But like I said, I think everybody that follows the NFL will agree they absolutely made the right decision. Better to just cut bait now. Take your losses for this year. Probably take your losses for next year. Maybe even the year after. But
it's going to take a while.
Hopefully get the right people, not person, get the right people in there and rebuild this.
Yeah. Like, actually have a staff. What a novel concept in the NFL.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Got a couple comments here, so I'm going to hit these.
Okay.
Jaime. Hey, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Unless your name is Bill O'Brien.
I said the same thing. Not your fault.
And Braden, shout out Frogs. Nice win. Although Texas, like we said, is always back. They're still back. But that loss.
Always back.
This is just what's going on right now in the Monday night game. I think the Falcons are down. I think they've only scored 9 to 27 right now.
Yeah, it was already a blowout the last score I saw, and that was like right when we started the show.
Yeah, Packers up big going into the end of the third quarter, so not really a surprise there.
At least they're not blowing the game. At least if you're going to lose right off the bat.
Yeah, you can't really blow it if you never had a chance.
Boom.
Think
about that.
That's right. Knowledge.
Well, in other news, over the weekend, we did have a NBA Finals game. We had Game 3, where the Miami Heat stormed. Well, I shouldn't even say the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler and a bunch of guys stormed back.
And a bunch of guys.
look. And I shouldn't even say that because I actually I only got to see the highlights. It looked like Kelly Olynyk had a good game. Tyler Hero's going to put up some points like he always does. But Jimmy Butler, of course, comes in 40 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. To anybody that thought it was going to be a sweep, look, I know it looked that way after the first 2 games, and the Heat still had some key injuries. If you thought Jimmy Butler was going to allow them to be swept, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying
he's
he's going to come back and win 40. Exactly, yeah. I'm not saying he's going to come back and win, and beat the Lakers 4 times, but he would not allow this team to be swept. He proved that yesterday. They're still hoping they can get Adebayo and Dragic back. Who knows how that's going to happen? Both guys missed 2 games. But he just kind of willed Miami to a win yesterday against the Lakers.
Yeah, a 40-point triple-double, which is awesome. I think my favorite stat about that was he did not make any threes and got 40 points in a triple-double, which you never see in the NBA anymore.
No.
Just a couple takeaways from that. I saw this, just a photo I saw, but I did enjoy it because you see right over his right shoulder there, and I'll just get the zoom in, the Heat fan popping their jersey right there with the Butler jersey on. Kind of just for a brief moment, sort of felt like a normal, like something you would see in the crowd in the NBA Finals. So I thought that was just a cool picture. But yeah, Butler just went off. I think it's been clear to everyone this whole time in the bubble. It's been very personal for him. Mm-hmm. Just sort of they come in as a 5 seed, and now they're just scalping guys. Like, we took out the Bucks. Like, who's next? Just moving on. And he even got hurt in the first game, and he still didn't really show any effects of it in Game 3 with the 40 points. He was just doing everything. We saw the legendary Tyler Hero face. Now I'm sure it's a well-known meme. Looks
It's
like
a meme now, for sure.
I don't know, kind of like Sid Vicious before the heroin. I don't know how I would describe that, but that was a cool moment. And then you had Butler also chirping back at LeBron. Apparently, LeBron said earlier in the game that on the court chatter that he was in trouble, or they were in trouble. And then Butler with the and one here.
He's from Jimmy Butler, and the Heat go up by 9 with 1:13 remaining.
It up. I am inclined to. Yes, I'm a Laker fan, as you guys know, and you could see the hat. I don't think the Lakers are in trouble. I think a couple things that really stood out is that they shot terribly, and man, they also shot like 40-something threes, which are not a good three-point shooting team. Right. So that's already not ideal. I don't think Marcus Morris having more field goal attempts than Anthony Davis is ever a formula to win. But AD did get in foul trouble pretty early in the game, so that affected things too for them.
I think didn't Denny Green go 0 for the day too?
Well, that's to be expected. I mean,
well, yeah, that's a sense of normalcy here in 2020.
You could pencil that in. I did see also there was before the game there was a online petition to, if the Lakers win, not give Kuzma a ring, that like 4,500 people had signed.
Oh God,
that's a tough one.
Yeah,
and I think Danny Green probably got added to that also overnight. But Lakers just didn't look good. They've had a couple of these sort of just like wake up call games,
sure,
where they come storming back. Dragic is not going to come back in the playoffs. I mean, Adebayo, I think will, maybe not in the next game, but at some point you're going to see him, which helps the Heat. But the Lakers just didn't shoot well. AD never got going because he was in foul trouble. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Lakers are in trouble, but it was nice. Just, I'm not going to be mad if Jimmy Butler just has like an all-time finals game, which is what that was. Mm-hmm. We're huge Jimmy Butler fans here on the program. Yep. And huge Big Face Coffee fans also.
That's right.
I'm just waiting to see if I can, finally get a cup, pay my 20, as Dragic infamously said. Big Face Coffee, remember the name. Or tank tops available and masks as well. Be safe out there.
Do we have any pictures of the tracksuit as well?
Let me see. I don't have the tracksuit one here with me.
That one's so good.
Unfortunately.
But no, I'm with you. Like I still think the Lakers are going to win this. Before it started, I said I said Lakers in 6. Butler might will them back to another win. Who knows? I wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers just kind of came back and stormed on them the next 2 games to close it out either. But again, like I just said, if you thought the Lakers were going to sweep this, then you haven't paid attention to Jimmy Butler. He was not going to allow that.
Yeah. He just personally, like I said, that was an all-time finals game. I think there's only 3 people ever that have had a 40-point triple-double in a finals game. And he pulled that off, like I said, with no threes at all.
That's insane.
It's not even, you would think, possible in the modern NBA.
Yeah. No, I mean, glad for him. Definitely glad, Butler's showing off. And he's always been a really good player, but he's just kind of been like, you never really think of him as like maybe a top tier. And he may still not be. But, he's definitely been kind of putting his name out there for people to recognize this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's deserved. And especially I feel like happy for him with this playoffs because he always had sort of that knock on him. Like, he's a great player or a very good player. Maybe not like top 5, whatever. But
sure,
who knows how he is in the locker room because there's always been sort of like weird conflicts going on around him. And it seems like he's all in for this team in Miami. It does suck to lose like one of his top dogs with Dragic probably gone, but
Bam's been balling out of the playoffs too.
Bam's had a really breakout playoffs as well. Hero also, who's like 20 years old. So, looking forward to seeing this, as Jaime said, the Billy Idol snarl. Yours is a little more PG than mine. I guess I didn't have to take it down the Sid Vicious route, but that's just what popped in my head.
But so we'll have game 4 going on tomorrow. I think they have a couple days off before game 5, which is like a weird scheduling thing. But game 4 tomorrow. Again, Lakers, usually when they have this bad game, they bounce back pretty big. So probably expecting them to win Game 4, but who knows? Maybe Butler just goes off again. Maybe Bam can come back and kind of help out, be a bit of a presence inside for him. So see how that goes.
If I'm Vogel, first of all, get AD going early. Just get him being aggressive. Feed him the ball. LeBron will probably be doing a lot of that, especially at the beginning.
Yep.
You can't control, fouls on the defensive end. If he gets in foul trouble again, who knows? Because that throws off. I mean, not really the rotations, because they could still throw Howard and JaVale out there as far as like defensive presence, but they're not really going to give you the offense that obviously AD can. But I think you'll see a much better looking Laker team. And also, if I was Frank Vogel, I would just, I don't know, maybe tape Danny Green's hands together so he can't shoot, because every time I see that going up, I'm like, this is not good. We don't need that. It's not what we need right now.
Look, you're going into the game because we are required to have 5 bodies on the court at all times.
Legally, we have to do this. Stand in the corner. Don't do anything. Or just do like the old school George Karl, where like randomly a guy standing out of bounds.
Yeah, there you go.
So you can just have everyone behind the 3-point line.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. I think Vogel, if you're watching, Ronnie's onto something here.
Hit me up. Just here to support the team.
Gotta support the team.
Gotta support the team.
But also in big sports news, we got the MLB playoffs are rolling along today. Earlier today, we did have the Astros just absolutely going to town on the A's pitching.
Yeah.
Which, it was also weird seeing that game in 2 AL teams playing in an empty Dodger Stadium on a Monday afternoon. Felt like I was watching The Naked Gun. But the Astros just went off, man. And, this is something that, look, we all knew it could happen. As much shit as we talk about the Astros, because they did cheat and they are assholes. The talent's there. The talent's there. I mean, they all had bad seasons this year. Was that due to cheating? We don't know, blah, blah, blah. Put that aside. The talent's there. They can go off, and they did that. They just absolutely went off against Houston. Against Oakland. It was a nice mix of long ball and just some bloops and bleeders that happened to get through. Only game 1, so obviously we'll see how Oakland bounces back. I like Oakland's rotation more than I like Houston's, but if the Houston bats gets going, they're going to be tough to stop.
And I don't know what the A's did as far as once it started to sort of get out of control on them with their pitching. Maybe had a guy stretch out and just sort of, hey, we need 3 innings, like just go out there, because getting a big blowout in the first game, especially with the way they're going to play these series, is huge if you could disrupt the other team's pitching staff.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about, especially, I know the Padres are still sort of up in the air what they're going to do there with that Dodgers series. But you're playing every day, and if you don't have 2 or 3 really good starters that can get into games, then you got to get real creative with what you're going to do as far as keeping just a sustainable pitching staff. Like, say this thing goes 5 games, like, what are we going to do at that point? I mean, there's obviously a part of we got to get there, and then we'll figure it out.
Sure.
But once you get there, you might be totally screwed if you don't have any bullets left there. So,
yeah, they used 8 pitchers today. They got 4 innings out of Bassett and then 5 innings out of 7 other guys. So, tough start.
Barron coming in with the conspiracy talk already, still stealing signs somehow.
And probably kind of the worst thing for Oakland at this point is, they didn't even go with Greinke in game 1. They went McCullers. So, you still got to go with Greinke. I know Oakland's done well against them this year, but Greinke's still never fun to face. That dude is a legit ace. Oakland can definitely bounce back. Don't get me wrong. They've got a good team, solid pitching staff. They don't have Chapman, which obviously hurts, but they've still got some good bats on that team. So, they could bounce back. And again, like you said, they got to do it tomorrow. No days off. You're playing until the series is over. So let's see how that goes.
And as you know, I'm also an A's sympathizer. Shout out to the Baron. Keep hope alive. But A's, no pressure. You're doing this for all of America right now. We cannot have the Astros get momentum and continue to go deeper and just get hotter and start believing they can actually win this thing. Nobody wants to see that. Put a stop to the madness, please.
This is true. In the other AL game, which is going on right now, looks like New York is actually okay. See, that's not even updated. It's 9-3 now.
Oh boy!
New York has just absolutely blown this open here. Looks like we got a grand slam from Giancarlo Stanton which is after
A Stantonian blast.
Yeah.
It is hot. It is far. It is gone.
So, that series going on in San Diego. Again, weird to see those teams playing in San Diego, but New York is teeing off. I mean, that's what they're built to do, man. They're built to mash. Ray's pitching staff is solid. They could come back. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they came back tomorrow and limited the innings. Limited the Yankees to a couple runs. Game's just getting away from tonight. You just got to put that behind you. Come back out tomorrow fresh and start over.
Yeah, I know. I'm assuming these guys are staying in the Omni Hotel because there's actually like a elevated walking bridge that goes directly into Petco. So as far as like a bubble thing, and it's a huge like mega hotel with rooms where they could work out and all this stuff like that.
Right.
But I know players from both teams have already said, yeah, we were like just running into guys from the other team like all over the place. We can't go anywhere, and they're just all over the hotel. So that's kind of a funny thing.
I think I saw a comment. Somebody from the A's said the same thing, where them and the Astros are the only people staying at a hotel in LA.
Bubble life now. So what are you gonna do? Like, just gotta suck it up and power through. So you move to the next bubble, hopefully.
But tomorrow we're going to have a nice slate of 4 games of playoffs. We're going to start in the morning, 11 o'clock Pacific time. We got Braves Marlins, which that game will be at Houston. 1:30 we got A's Astros. 5 o'clock Rays Yankees, and 6:30 will be Dodgers Padres. Which Dodgers and Padres. Maybe there's beef there, maybe there's not. Depends what side you're looking at from. One thing that I think all teams can agree, what both sides can agree on. Why is Angel Hernandez on the umpiring staff?
Why does he even have a job at this point?
Oh, that guy is
union
so
is strong,
bad.
but can we just keep him out of the playoffs at least?
That guy is something like, honestly, exactly. If I'm a pitcher for either team, I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to throw the ball 6 inches out of the strike zone every time.
We just see what happens.
Probably 3/4 of the time he's going to call it a strike. So it could make for a rough series for both sides, because Angel Hernandez is, look, most people, I'll just say this, if you know an umpire's name, it's never a good thing.
Yeah, it's not good. It is not good.
Every baseball fan knows his name, which is really not good.
The worst.
But hopefully both teams can get past that. I'm expecting a good series. We still don't know what's going on with the Padres pitching. There was a tweet earlier from San Diego beat writer Kevin Acey saying that's right, saying that the likely Game 1 starter is Mike Clevenger or Chris Paddock, which that's quite a difference in confidence, I would imagine, between those two.
Well, that's also kind of, yes, if Clevenger's right, he would be there. He is the guy.
Of course.
Probably would have started Game 1 of the other series, depending on where they were at. Lamet's hurt too, but as far as just their day coming up or whatever, it would have been one of them two. But he threw a bullpen before that series, and they said he wasn't right enough to get put on that roster. And I don't know what the situation is now. I know he had a bullpen today. I don't know what the outcome of that was. And then
Looked pretty good from everything I saw.
Paddock just looks real rattled right now, so I know he's chomping at the bit, just knowing kind of how that guy is, to get back out there and have another chance to not just totally melt down. But he is prone to that. So, but you really don't want to start the whole series off with another bullpen day where it's like, oh, cool, Craig Stammen's starting the game, or something weird like that. I mean, It worked out for them in the closeout game, but you can't. You got to look at, we might have to play 5 games in 5 days. Like, what is that going to put you at, like, by game 3 and 4? Like, who can even go right now?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, the Dodgers, Dodgers may have a bit of an issue with maybe going to a bit of a
Maybe that's the problem. You know what? I recant. No, you know what? It's not.
No, don't recant it. No,
he's just terrible.
He's really
I recant nothing.
But the Dodgers may wind up having to go to a bit of a bullpen game themselves. They've announced they're going to go Walker Buehler game 1, which he's been having a issue with blisters on his fingers for quite a while now. He was only able to go, I think, 4 innings in game 1 before the blister was just, they said, hey, come on out, blisters give me issues. So they may have to go a bit of a bullpen game themselves. I mean, I'm excited for the series. It's going to be a fun series. I didn't want to give this message to Dodger fans out there because, I saw a lot of I'll just go ahead and say it, gatekeeping by Dodger fans, kind of shitting on the Padres fans for being so excited about, but it's just a wild card round. Like, look, this is the best Padres team they've had in a long time. First time they've made it out of the first round of the playoffs in a long time. Fucking let them be happy about it, man. Like, take it easy. It's not that big of a deal. Let the fans up. Look, if you got an issue with, all the people gathering without masks, okay, that's one thing. But I kind of dig seeing Padres fans really excited about it. It adds something to this. It's not just, as a Dodger fan, I can't just say, oh, it's just the Padres now. Like, no, this is a legit threat.
No.
This is a team they're good. They've got the city behind them. Like, I dig it. I love it. So Dodgers fans, chill with the gatekeeping, man. Let people celebrate. Let people be happy about their team.
Yeah, and having been, working around them, it's just we all know what happened with the Chargers here and how people feel about that here.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to have the city sort of rallying behind a team that is in the playoffs. You seeing the flags on the cars. A lot more people like calling in the radio station or on social media. Not the biggest Padres Twitter fan in the world. We'll just leave it at that.
No, nobody is.
Have a day, Padres. I mean, you guys suffered for a long time. I am happy for you guys. We'll see what happens. I actually had just like a brief sort of back and forth with Tony Gwynn Jr. on his Instagram. He posted the video of him watching at his house with some friends the last out of the Cardinal series, and there was a couple Dodger fans in there trolling him. And I was like, "Look, man, the Dodgers have been finding ways to lose in the playoffs for 8 years.
Sure.
And the real Dodger fans should know better than anyone. Anything can happen in the playoffs, especially in a 3-game series.
Absolutely.
So I don't take anything for granted. And like Tyler said, this is the best Padres team they've had in a long time. So it's a capable team, a lot to figure out as far as the pitching, but anything can happen. And you got to win 3 games, and that could be it. So we'll see. I'm excited for it, but I hope the Dodgers sweep them. God, I hope they sweep them.
I hope so too. I hope for the sweep just because it'll help me help my anxiety. I don't feel so bad. I get 2 days of not feeling terrible.
Yeah.
If this goes 5 games,
I can breathe.
Padres fans, you guys are really going to learn, man. It sucks being in the playoffs. I mean, you already had a little taste of it just going 3 games against the Cardinals.
Yeah,
it sucks. You're anxious the whole time. You're nervous the whole time. It's not fun. In some ways, it's fun, but in a lot of ways, it's not fun.
It's very much the opposite of just like a random middle of June game. Like, let's go out to the stadium, get a couple beers, a hot dog, sit around 3 hours, watch baseball. Now it's like every single pitch is like, God! Like,
yeah, exactly. But now, looking forward to that series starting tomorrow. We'll have more to talk about that on Wednesday. Ronnie, you got anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, thank you guys for watching. We will get you guys back on Wednesday with a 30-minute show. But everyone be safe out there. Enjoy, again, just the smorgasbord of sports we got going on right now. And we'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. Tyler.
Yeah, actually, I did just want to give a quick shout-out. West Ham 3-0 win over Leicester this weekend. I will say I expected 0 points from West Ham until November. They're at 6 right now in the early October, so I'm already over the moon. Thank you, West Ham. Virtual Moyes, Cyber Moyes, that's the way to go. Cyber Moyes is the way to go.
He got that upgrade.
Stick around here on the network. We got the Book Club for TV with Patrice coming up next. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. Keep the fire.
Keep the fire.